Hey guys, what's up? My name's Blaze. Today I'm going to bring you guys a Smite God Guide to Anhur. Now, Anhur is the Egyptian god, slayer. He's slayer of enemies. You can go over here in the lore. Anhur is a lion-headed Egyptian god of war. Slays his enemies with spear and gully weapons equally as sharp. I have the god skin for him, or the gold skin for him, cause he's awesome. Uh, mastered like a G. Going over the overview here. He's a ranged physical carry, AD carry, hunter, or whatever you want to call it. He's got high single target damage, which basically means his one can only hit one god at a time. Disperse can actually hit multiple gods, and Desert Fury is better to target just one individual god at a time. I'm gonna go over these, what these actually mean in just a second here. But first, we're gonna take out over his details here. He starts out with uh, 460 health. Starts out with 220 mana, and his mana is considerably low for starting. But as like with all hunters now, if you see his 2, which is his impale, actually costs 70 mana in the beginning. So that's really, you're only gonna allow like roughly like about three of times using your 2 in order to use up all your mana, which is really bad. So you're gonna want to get 2 health health pots off start. I'll bring you guys over to the build in a second. Regeneration, he just gains 0.69 69 for every level every time he levels up, he gets plus that to his original starting 8 health per second, and basic same thing with mana. It's the same concept. His passive here means his spear attacks reduce enemy targets' physical protection for 3 seconds, and this lasts for 15 seconds. So before you do one of his wombo combo things, you're gonna want to use your you're gonna want to try and hit them with a basic attack at least once. It benefits you if they're building defense, and usually gods start out with defense against either magical or physical. His shifting sand, his first ability. I'll read the description. Anhur erects an obelisk from the ground, blocking all player movement. The surrounding sands slow enemies and increase the damage of Anhur's basic attacks against targets in the sands. So basically, this is a good initiate to your attack. You can place this behind them, so if they're backing up like directly behind them, they'll get body blocked by the tower. And if you hit them with your basic attack while you're doing that, it's going to enable your uh, your passive here, giving them a debuff for 15 seconds. And if you're lucky enough, you put your shifting sands behind them, and then use your 2, your impale. Anhur hurts his spear, hurls his spear with great might. If the spear hits a god, they take damage and are knocked back. Gods knocked back into a wall are stunned. The spear passes through minions, doing damage to them as well. You can see the power scaling under and the damage thing. The stun duration, yeah. 1.5 seconds. What you don't know, what it doesn't say here, is if you stun somebody to this, that's your ideal situation. You put this behind them, you hit them with a spear, you impale them with the spear to the obelisk that your 1 does, and then hit them with 1 basic attack. It'll do your wombo combo type deal, where then you can either you have the chance or the choice to either sit there and keep hitting them with basic attack after basic attack after basic attack, will just do more and more damage to them, and it's gonna give them your your passive already gives them 15 physical protection debuff, which basically if they have any if they don't build any physical protection, you're gonna do close, well, okay, not close to true damage, but if you have some kind of physical penetration, you could do almost true damage to them. which is really good. So what I like to do is I like to spear them, impale them to the shifting sands, hit them with basic attacks as much as I can, and then once they start to run away, I'll use my third ability, Disperse, to jump after them, and then use my ultimate on them to finish off a kill. And it usually one-hits kids, especially if they're taking creep damage. And I'll go over these last two abilities right now. Disperse. It has a 15-foot radius. Not the greatest, but it can hit multiple gods if they're next to each other. Anhur leaps to his target location, doing damage and knocking back all enemies in the radius where he lands. And you can see the damage scaling there, and 60% of your physical power. It's also worth mentioning, Impale, it does 80% of your physical power. So you're going to want to build a lot of physical power with Anhurs just so you can get this extra damage here. And you can see the mana cost there, the cooldown's 15 seconds. Depending on your build, you can make that a lot lower. Your ultimate, this is like your main, sorry if my dog's barking in the background. Your ultimate, this is your main source of power and main source of damage. Simmering the Fury of the Desert, Anhur hunkers down and throws empowered spears that pass through everything, doing damage to all his enemies in their path. He is immune to crowd control for the duration. Damage per spear, it scales from 60 to 85 to 110 to 135, 100, and then 160, and 15% of your physical power. It throws 8 spears. So if you had this maxed out, it'll do, what is it? I don't know, it's off the top of my head. It's like 1,200 damage, I think, plus your physical power. 15% of your physical power, which is a shit ton of damage if you hit all of it. That's why I like to jump on top of them. It bounces them off to the side or behind you or whatever, ideally. Sometimes you can put them like a foot or two in front of you, but you can still chase them because they get slowed after that, depending on your build. Then I like to use my 4 here, which usually kills them right away. Going to items, I do not recommend the majority of these items here. Actually, I do. I do not like these 3, this, and this. I have my build that I usually like to do is I like to start off with tier 2 taboo boots, one health pot, and 2 mana potions. This gives me like more sustain, and it allows me to spam abilities more often because he goes right through his mana very quickly. Uh, After that's done, I always go warrior tabby on him just for the penetration early game. As a second item, I like to go blood for, and just for the lifesteal early game, which carries over in the late game and giving me more sustain overall. Next, I like to go Titan's Bane, which is a recommended item as it is. 30 physical power. All of your physical attacks gain 33% physical penetration, which is very good. Then I like to go Deathbringer and Rage, just like these say. Give me 50 physical power, 20% critical chance, and the passive is critical strike damage is increased by 50%. So every time I get a crit, which is 20% of the time, so if I hit someone 10 times, that means I'm going to get roughly 2 critical hits, and that's going to be doubled, or no, it's going to be increased by 50% of it. So if I get 200 damage crit, that's going to give me an extra 100 damage, which is going to be 300 extra critical damage on top of my passive, on top of my basic attack damage on my auto attack. Rage. Sorry, I keep kind of like pausing and everything. I haven't commentated in a while, I guess, and my voice isn't really used to it. It gives me 20 physical power, 30% critical strike chance, 15% attack speed, and the passive is, if your basic attack does not critical hit, your critical strike chance increases by 5%, maximum 10 seconds, and resets on a successful hit. So that means if I don't hit somebody within 10 basic attacks, that means that the next time I hit it is a 50% chance I'm gonna be hitting that basic attack or that critical damage. And then as a sixth item, I like to go either a defensive item or a debuff to the enemy. This can either be like a Hide Leviathan if you just want to get some basic defense, or it really doesn't matter. I like to get debuffs or team like buffs as a last item just to help out in team fights, because that's what later games in Conquest are like. As an actives, I like to go Fist of Gods because Anhur doesn't have a stun, and if you have somebody you're facing that's melee or something, that's really helpful. And either beads or Aegis depending on the enemy gods. Like if you have an Anubis, you might want to get beads. If you have a Poseidon on the other team, you might want to go Aegis just to block their ultimates and block their stuns and stuff. Or Blink. Sorry, I just dropped my phone off my desk like twice, like a G. Blink, Combat Blink if the enemy team has lots of AoEs or single target damages. If they have a lot of one type of thing, you might want to get the hell out of there real quick. Uh, like with Combat Blink, or you might want to just jump away, use your 3, because you don't really need Blink or Sprint really. Like you could just Aegis and then like jump out with your 3. Um, that's about it. If you wanted an extra thing, you could go with the regular Blink, which is like the 45-second cooldown, 3 seconds out of combat in order to use it. Really, you can modify this build all you want. It's not like it's copyright. Uh, maybe I should, because it's so awesome. Uh, if you guys play Smite and you haven't tried out Anhur, do me a favor and try it out. I've done it a lot. I got him to rank like 5 or 6 or something. I have the gold skin for him because it's fun. I'm gonna try to get legendary too, just because I love him that much. If you guys like me doing this kind of Smite rundown of gods and stuff, of the gods that I do good with and gods I like, uh, be sure to let me know in the comments, because it's kind of a new thing. I want to try it out because getting gameplay for Smite takes up a lot of space, because games can go from 30 minutes, 10 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour, and the longest game I've ever had was like an hour and a half or something. It was crazy. Really, it differs a lot depending on teams, and there's a lot of different factors that go into it. And it makes it really hard to record and makes it really hard to upload because it takes so damn long. If you guys like this, let me know in the comments. Like whatever if you do that sort of stuff. Thank you for watching. Peace.